Hello, I'm Carl Nassman. We come on the air with some breaking news. 2 people were wounded in an exchange of gunfire with Secret Service agents outside the White House. Officials say a suspect had approached a checkpoint near the White House complex and then opened fire at officers. They say the scene is now contained and the wounded alleged shooter has been apprehended and taken to hospital. You can see a live look here. This is about a block away from the White House. The crime scene tape there in the distance, as well as several authorities now responding to that incident. Earlier, reporters at the White House were rushed inside as dozens of shots rang out in quick succession. Correspondents could be seen ducking for cover during their live broadcasts. President Trump was in the White House residence at the time. The incident comes, of course, only a month after a gunman fired at reporters and government officials while they were in the building at the White House Correspondents' Dinner here in Washington. Well, earlier I spoke with Aaron Navarro. He's the CBS News White House reporter. He has more on the reports of gunfire that was heard nearby the White House, as well as the security response that followed.
Yeah, just to set the scene for the shooting, it happened on the intersection of 17th and Pennsylvania Avenue, kind of right outside the White House grounds. And there is a gate as well as a security post along with several Secret Service cars in that area. But the latest that we are hearing from law enforcement sources is that 2 people were hit by the gunfire and then transported to an area hospital. It's the suspect and a possible bystander. Our understanding is that the suspect is in critical condition, while the second individual is in serious condition at this time. It appears that U.S. Secret Service agents were fired at, though unsuccessfully, and then returned the fire from the shooter that is right outside the White House grounds. I was here on the North Lawn preparing for a live shot when you could hear about 20 to 30 gunshots at points sounding like they were coming from different guns just outside of the grounds. We know that the FBI is on the scene. The FBI Director Kash Patel put a statement out on X saying that we will update the public as we are able.
Aaron, you mentioned you were there. You mentioned you heard the gunshots. What was the reaction then within the White House grounds? How did authorities then, begin to kind of assess the situation?
Yeah, at first we ducked down. We were in covered tents in an area known as Pebble Beach. It's where all the other TV outlets do their live shots with the White House right behind us. As soon as we heard it, we ducked down, and I started to see other reporters starting to run, and you shortly heard Secret Service officers saying, "Get inside, get inside." Once we were inside, we were locked down inside in the press briefing room for about 30 minutes. Right outside those doors was a Secret Service officer. And then on the North Lawn were other Secret Service officers with guns kind of roaming as they were, surveying the scene. And then just beyond the White House grounds where the shooting was, we eventually did see images of ambulances there, as we know that 2 people were rushed to the hospital.
Aaron, just for those who are not intimately familiar with the White House, how far away do we believe this incident actually happened from, where President Trump is tonight?
Yeah, we know President Trump was in the White House. We don't know specifically what room he was in at the moment. It almost feels like it's a couple blocks away, maybe 1 or 2, if that's the equivalent. That's the amount of distance between when you get outside the press gates here at the White House and get to the security gate where the shooting was near on that intersection, kind of on the west of the West Wing here. So it's unclear specifically where President Trump was when it was all happening, whether he even heard it, as it was a good distance. But being outside, you could definitely hear the rapid rounds that were shot.
And Aaron, just before I let you go, just for some context, and obviously we don't know the details or the full motive behind this shooting, but I think it's easy to assume that many people around the area there could be on edge. We're only less than a month since we saw shots fired inside the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is a room filled with journalists. The president was there, several high-profile politicians, and the suspect in that shooting was charged now with trying to assassinate President Trump.
Yeah, I want to know, we don't know anything about the motivations of the shooter tonight, but we do know that 2 sources familiar with the matter said the suspect was shooting at the security booth where Secret Service agents are kind of that first line of defense before they get closer on the White House grounds. It certainly is a tense moment generally when it comes to security and President Trump. As you mentioned, it comes a couple weeks after the White House correspondence shooting. And in terms of where the area is, it's in a pretty busy intersection, both with cars. There's a Starbucks. There's a couple of kind of fast casual restaurants in that area. In a sense, it is good that it came after the workday. It came on the weekend, so it's not as busy as it could have been. And the shooting also came after a lid was issued for the press here, meaning we were told we weren't expecting to see the president for the rest of the day. So there were press that had already been gone or were making their way out, as well as staffers at the White House. But certainly, it's still a fluid matter, but it'll be something to watch in terms of how the White House, how the Secret Service adjusts and reacts to what we saw tonight.
Yeah, Aaron Navarro there, a CBS White House reporter. We also have our reporter, Emer McCarthy, in the area. She just sent us this update from the scene.
Well, this is the scene from the corner of 18th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. The White House is just a few blocks away down there, but as you can see, it's a sea of blue and red. There's at least a dozen police vehicles on this block alone, and the surrounding streets are all shut off as well. There's police tape up, and there's also a growing number of onlookers, as well as a number of media, local outlets, international outlets, are all converging on these areas near the White House on what is otherwise a very cold and wet evening here in Washington, D.C.
The BBC's Emer McCarthy there reporting for us, and of course we'll continue to bring you updates on that story as we get them.